It may be Halloween, but this next story is not about alien invasions and little green men. As
KBC9's Martin Augustine shows us, it is about getting answers for what so many of you are seeing and recording in the sky.
Check this out.
What is that?
It's jumping back and forth.
What is that?
It's a cube. That thing's a cube with lights.
Whatever it is.
That's clearly very cube-shaped in nature. And
Justin Johnson still doesn't know for sure.
There's something going on here.
Since recording it 3 years ago.
It had my adrenaline really going. I was excited. So
Johnson reported what he saw to anybody he could, but none, he says, including nearby air traffic controllers, had any record of something in the sky in this spot on that.
The truth is out there, and it begins with you. Welcome to the Cosmic Fold, where we talk high strangeness. Call us at 928-288-2942. That's 928-288-2942. Or join us by video. If you're at a computer, just look for the link in the chat. Buckle up, sit around our virtual campfire, and let's get started.
I think what we experienced was, like I said, well beyond the material science and the capabilities that we had at the time, that we have currently, or that we're going to have in the next 10 to 20 years.
Very good. Mr. Grush, you've been able to answer in great detail on certain questions, and then other things you say you're not able to respond to. Can you just explain where you're drawing the line and what's the basis for that?
Yeah, based on my Doppser security review and what they've determined that is unclassified.
I see. So you're answering any questions that just call upon your knowledge of unclassified questions, but anything that relates to classified matters you're not commenting on in this context.
In an open session, but happy to participate in a closed session at the right level, yeah.
Okay. And Mr. Graves, you've said that there are dozens of fellow pilots, military pilots. Are there also commercial pilots who've encountered the same kind of sightings that you described before?
They are similar. Commercial pilots have less range and less sensors to be able to reach out and look for objects over wide swaths of airspace. And so pilots are seeing them, commercial pilots are seeing them, and they're typically closer, and the range of what they're seeing is pretty large.
What is the most vivid, concrete sighting with the naked eye of the objects that you described before, the cube-like objects?
Certainly. I think the most vivid sighting of that would have been near midair that we had at the entrance to our working area. One of these objects was completely stationary at the exact entrance to our working areas, not only geographically but also at altitude. So it was right where all the jets are going, essentially on the eastern seaboard. The two aircraft flew within about 50 feet of the object, and that was a very close visual sighting.
And you were in one of the aircraft?
I was not. I was there when the pilot landed. He canceled the mission after, and I was there. He was in the ready room with all his gear on, with his mouth open. And I asked him what the problem was, and he said he almost hit one of those darn things.
He said he was 50 feet away from it?
Yes, sir.
And his description of the object was consistent with the description you gave us before?
A dark gray or a black cube inside of a clear sphere.
Inside of a clear sphere?
Yes.
And with no self-evident propulsion system?
No wings, no IR energy coming off of the vehicle, nothing tethering it to the ground. And that was primarily what we were experiencing out there.
I'm over time. Thank you very much for your service, and I yield back to Mr. Chairman.
Wow.
Pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Why is this not on breaking news front page 24/7?
Because people don't want to. It's because it's a paradigm buster, and just like so many other things that kind of shake up people's reality, this kind of stuff gets hidden. And I think it's probably for the best. I think some people just can't handle this kind of stuff.
That's not hidden. That's what's his name? Grush. He did a whole expose with the Pentagon. It was on the front page of the New York Times. It was on television. You know, what's it called?
But you can ignore it if you want, though. But you could ignore it if you want, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, you can. I mean, a lot of people don't read the newspaper. A lot of people don't pay attention to what's going on in Congress. Good evening.
Good evening, Cecile.
And
I like your name. Cecilia was my confirmation name.
What's Cecilia?
No. Well, that song was, but because Saint Cecilia is the patron saint of musicians.
Of music. Oh, no.
And I wanted to be a famous pianist, and you saw how well that worked out.
Robin. You know, you think back to War of the Worlds when that was and more recently, there was this, I believe it was an operation to sort of test the public. There was this situation, I think it was in Florida at this big shopping mall, kind of sort of at nighttime, sort of like late afternoon, early evening.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there was this sighting of this thing that looked like it was sort of an interdimensional being. It looked more like a hologram, actually. And it sort of popped out of nowhere and kind of just started walking about. And people lost their shit like it was a movie. Yep. They were freaking out, screaming, running, getting into fights. So that was right before disclosure was supposed to happen, by the way. It was like month before disclosure was supposed to happen.
They were testing the waters, huh?
I think they were. I believe that it was kind of, can people really handle this? How much disclosure should we really give people? And I think that kind of ends. And then after that, it kind of went back underground a bit. And it's been more hidden again. I really think so. Hi.
I just hauled mine out too, 3D braining. Tomorrow's garbage day. Oh, cool. Yeah. I love her name.
Yeah,
but, you know what's interesting about these, until I had that dream, and then I meant, it was going on for a while. I mentioned it to you guys, and then the dream stopped. But I had never heard of this. Ever.
Right. No, I know.
Cubes, except for you had that experience.
I had that experience, and then I found out about these sightings back when I was, the assistant state director of MUFON, but they were not really commonly known. And there are not that many sightings of them that I knew of at the time. I guess they're becoming more common because people I don't know.
There's a lot of literature out there now, first person narratives in books. There's quite a bit of it. But, I'm super jealous because I haven't seen anything and I'm really jealous.
Yeah, you have. You told me you saw UFOs.
Well, yeah, I've seen that. Nothing that dramatic. Oh my God,
No, they're all dramatic.
What's interesting to me about these is, okay, so there was all of those in Kansas City, Missouri. And so there's another YouTube, but it's not public domain, but you can find it on the Travelers Channel YouTube. And there's some little clips, and there were like 60 people that had seen these. And this one lady.
They're the cubes, the black cubes?
Yes, that were going around through Missouri.
That's
and
weird.
This one lady was on, and she was like, oh, well, I saw it like in, 10 years before that, kind of like the same period that you and your husband did.
I saw it in the 90s.
Yeah. And so now they're coming. And one of the things that seems, when I brought it up, and it'll show up on the PowerPoint, but there is this service. I can't remember now. I am so tired, but you can look up all of these sightings and things that are going on. And now there are more of the cube sightings. But what's interesting, they seem to be going up and down with drone sightings. Remember all the drones at the end of?
Yeah.
And there seems to be a correlation. So there's a part of me that thinks the ones with the spheres around it, like the congressional people we're talking about,
Yeah.
are some kind of military thing, but the ones without the spheres are something else.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, because I didn't see the sphere around it. It was just this big, and it, square thing in the sky, and it was massive. It wasn't little like that
right
thing that you. It was hovering over this house, and it was like really obviously giant and really weird. And
so, is there any consensus about, like, is this technology?
Yeah, it's definitely a technology, but nobody knows what it is. Yeah.
And one of the theories is that it's some kind of probe or like thing to get information.
Huh.
But then there's some other ones. I wrote down some notes, but the other one is that.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, the one I saw, it was like in the early 1990s. That's a long time ago. I mean, it's 2025 now. That's 35 years ago about. And I never saw or heard anybody talk about it before, and then I saw it. I mean, my husband saw it. And then it was years and years before I heard of anybody reporting those things. So whatever it is, it goes back pretty far. If I saw it in like 1990, and there's no way that was our thing in 1990. There's just no way. Maybe some of the ones that are in the spheres, like you said, are some kind of back engineered technology.
That's what I think that they are. That's what I think they are.
And that might be why they're being more seen now, because there are things, that
so
like
you
the one you saw,
Earth-made, but based on off-Earth technology.
Yeah. They do that a lot. Back engineering. Yeah.
Because like what Denise saw, and I couldn't quite get it right with the AI videos, but they literally have now mine is only from a dream that I was seeing, but they're huge. They're like the size of like massive. Maybe a 2 or 3 story home, a really nice kind of, but they have like no
big, but it was big. Yeah.
There's like no seams, nothing. And the scene in the beginning is sort of what I saw in the dream. It's like some people see it, other ones walk through the same, kind of area, the same kind of houses, the green yards. So maybe it's Missouri. They're going to see a whole bunch of them again. I don't know.
Yeah. It's interesting.
The video of the guy who saw it took pictures of it, and he was saying, well, yeah, it looks like it's got flashing lights. I don't think that was flashing lights. I think that was reflection.
It was a reflection. Yeah, it was a reflection of it moving around. The thing that I saw didn't move. It did not move at all. And fall can be true to SpaceX. Okay, maybe.
I think there's something to that.
Yeah, that could be.
Especially with the drones.
I mean, and also, I think, like you said, it could be back engineered technology. The reason why people are seeing so many of them, they might be trying to like do some testing of it or something like that. I mean, the story about Area 51 back in, I heard about it back in, again, the early 90s out in Vegas. Supposedly, and I'm pretty sure it's probably real. They had reconnaissance of a ship, and basically back engineered the ship. And there was a guy who came forward, Bob Lazar, who supposedly, said, all these different things like cable optics and all of these different inventions come from this back engineering.
That's right.
And he knew this because he worked on it. They tried to squash they tried to ruin him.
Oh, they accused him of all kinds of things.
Yeah, they said he lied about his education, and he never worked there. But he's very credible.
Yeah.
And so we know that they do get possession of these sort of, foreign or alien technologies, and then try to figure out how it works. They get engineers to try to figure out what's going on with it. So, I mean, if I saw that in 1990, that was 35 years ago, that would be enough time to back engineer something like that. You know what I mean?
Can I tell you something interesting? Because, people are always debating, is this paranormal or is it a physical thing from someplace else? Well, here's a little interesting factoid. They think that they have discovered, back engineering it, that the pilot sits in the seat and becomes one with the body of the vehicle.
It goes into the neural networks.
Guides it with his thought
Right.
process.
Right.
Yeah.
It kind of basically merges with your neurological system.
Consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah, not your consciousness, but your neurology. You know that
Right.
your
Right, right. But I'm
Yeah.
using the term less officially. Just you think about what you want. in
Yeah,
your life.
right.
Yeah.
It basically becomes like an extension of your body, kind of
Yeah.
like
Well-
if you had bionic arm or something like that. You know? Yeah.
Kind of
Crazy.
like you know, like a different thing, you know, like the cat people that I had seen in the bubble. They didn't have like a machine or anything. It was all like mind stuff, except for like a little stick to steer around with. And so I think there is that neurological link. And then I'm thinking back the time I saw that one crash, there were black helicopters and crap down there already. So what did they
Right.
do?
Yeah. They know immediately when something crashes. They are right on that. And I'm sure there's stories about crashes in almost so many different countries.
Yes.
Like a Neuralink, exactly. It's kind of like what we're trying to develop now, where people can use an arm, you know, and it goes into your brain. But this is way more advanced. You basically put your hands on it and it links with your neurological system and you can move it around.
You don't
And
have to wait
Bob
for
Lazar talked about that.
dendrites to form. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
Bob
one
Lazar
thing-
talked about that. Yeah.
One thing kind of interesting about this too is I thought, are there any archaeological, you know, ruins that would look like these?
Yes.
And so guess what?
Yeah,
there are, and they're in
Yeah.
Egypt.
Yeah.
And the Egyptian ones, it's the Seraphim of Saqqara, and they're these perfect granite cubes, and they can't find the seams on them or anything. And it's in worship of like these cows or bulls or something. But they've opened got some of these up or looked at them with X-ray. I don't know how, but there are like bulls inside some of them, and other ones there aren't. And there is kind of like it was like a cult that went on back in the day in Egypt. And there is a theory that it was some kind of regenerative thing, just like, you know, you were talking about that these cubes may regenerate failed bodies, and then the soul goes into like a
I think the black box that people have seen, which is sort of related to the cube, I think experiencers have talked about in those set situations where they've been pulled out of their body and put into a new body. It's been a black box, this black box that they hold, and it pulls the person out, holds the consciousness, and then they put it into someone else's body. And so, I mean, my feeling about the black box that we saw over that house was it was some kind of consciousness thing, because when we came home, I told you about that thing where my husband walked across the television and went whoa, like that. And there was something going on energetically, even just seeing it like 50 feet, whatever, a football field away was enough to like shift or kind of manipulate the energy. Maybe it's a time machine. Maybe it's some kind of time shifter. I don't know, but it's definitely, I don't think it's just gathering information. I think it was doing something. You know what I mean?
Do you know, because I don't know much about astrology, do you know something about the Saturn cube?
The Saturn cube? No, I don't know what that is.
Anyway, that has come up about this, that and they were even saying that the Kaaba in Mecca is related to Saturn.
Yes,
also.
yeah, that makes sense.
And
Black. It's black.
So anyway, they say that the cubes, black cubes, symbolize imprisonment of consciousness or are linked to hexagon-shaped storms on Saturn's North Pole, which to me, it seems opposite of what they were saying in this paper about these, because if it's a consciousness thing, to me, it wouldn't be a limiting, you know, if you're going there.
I think that's probably a metaphorical reading of the black cube, because Saturn is black and it is square kind of in terms of its energy of containment. You know what I mean? But I don't get the feeling these things are related to that. You know, they feel like, like I said,
so either.
From reading the stuff about the people who have experienced the small black cubes, and my experience of the big one was that something happened to us when we were around it. It did something strange. I think it is some kind of like a mechanism of consciousness to kind of move people's consciousness or shift their consciousness. Now, I don't know about the ones in the spheres. I mean, that could be just totally something else. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's actually a patent that came out for the one in the sphere, like in the late 1940s, and the sphere is some kind of thing that deflects radar.
Oh, okay. Well, that may be what.
And there's
what
a perfect cube inside that's like stores information or a possible like explosive weapon. So this is what I think that the military, because why would they be where these airships are and around the military so much?
Right.
And there were similar in Arizona. When all the drones came out, my first thought was these are not aliens. That it just was not. I thought it was military because there was a big thing out here in southern Arizona where there were all kinds of these, and it was creating a problem for the pilots to even fly around. Some of, I think even a cube that crashed into one of the jets, and so that was my thought. It's like this is a national security thing. Is where
exactly. I agree with that totally.
Can I interject a little information here that I just find really fascinating? I can't help but make these connections. I've been reading a lot of Paul Wallace, and he's been over, in the Middle East and doing a lot of archaeological stuff. And there are all these theories about human origins and intervention. The Roman military was all over Persia, long time ago. And when they came back from Persia, they brought with them a pagan religious cult of Mithras, which was a bull depicted inside a cube.
Huh.
And there are...
I forgot about the cube.
Yeah. And it represented a cave, and the cube-like cave thing was supposed to be a representation of the universe, the cosmos, outer space, right? And so I thought that was very interesting. I don't know what to make of it. I just think it's a weird conflation of ideas. But what was the other thing I was going to say about?
So wait, so the Mithras thing was it a clear crystal with?
No, Mithras was a god.
No, I know who he was, but I mean the thing
by a bull.
No, I know about Mithras.
We're not.
Oh, I thought okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I got confused. I thought you said there was an artifact that was related to Mithras.
No, it was a concept that he was
always
envisioned as being inside a cube-shaped cave that represented the universe. And you'd see that in depictions of him. I actually saw an ancient altar to Mithras 3 layers down in a Catholic church in Rome that they're still using, but they always build on top of other religions, to dominate, right? And here's this sacrificial altar to Mithras that belonged to the Roman legions that came back from Persia, and there's some sort of connection. Let me put it this way: there's question and speculation about what were we really doing over there, in the early 90s.
A lot of people
the first thing they did when they went over there was clear out the archaeological artifacts.
Yeah, that's what people thought that was the real operation. Yeah.
Well, in the biblical stuff, in the was the Ark of the Covenant a cube? Because we talk about 60 cubits by 60 cubits.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was a box. Yeah.
The box. Yeah.
Okay, because
it was a box carried on one of those.
I have to say that the difference, the thing I saw in the 90s was it wasn't really a cube. It was more like it had more of a rectangular thing about it.
Okay.
It was like kind of like a garbage dump. You know what I mean? It was like a little bit longer on one side. It was just a little bit, it wasn't entirely perfect cube. And it was really big. It was probably, I don't know, about the size of half of a house, like a small house, and sort of hanging over this other house. So it was.
Did you say a garbage dump?
You know how you see like those, that you throw your garbage in one of those big,
those big
square
bins.
dumpsters, a dumpster.
Oh, like in the alley?
It was like dumpster shaped is what it looked like.
Yeah.
Like a flying dumpster, but black, completely flat black.
Okay.
And like kind of like a dumpster. And it was like real. So I mean, it was close enough to a cube kind of thing that we thought of it that way, but it wasn't a perfect cube either.
And
So-
in this dream thing I had, they were perfect cubes.
Right.
And there was just this sense that there was something inside of them. But
Yeah.
you couldn't
Yeah.
see a seal, you couldn't see anything.
Right, that's
and
what
they
we
were
saw.
very silent. There was no sound or propulsion or anything. And there were a lot of,
Right.
not just like a couple, there were like almost
Tons
like a
of them.
fleet of them. And they were big.
Right. That's
Big enough that people would see it because it like darkened the sunlight coming. There were not like a lot of them.
What was the purpose? Do you know?
I have no idea. It was just like some kind of dream that just I kept having it until we had the show, and I had never heard of this before. I was like,
You mean
why
of
am I
this show
dreaming?
about
Maybe something.
Yes,
maybe
yes.
something wanted to have you talk about it for some reason.
That's what I think is going. Now, there's
Yeah.
another thing. Do you guys want to watch another movie or see the PowerPoint of the other weird thing that's going on?
Either
right now?
way, whatever you
All of
whatever
the
you say.
above.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the movie because it's okay. This is available through the Creative Commons. So, and I kind of like this guy.
Welcome, weirdos. I'm Darren Marlar, and this is a Weird Darkness bonus bite. In March of this year, residents of Buga, Colombia witnessed something extraordinary in their skies. A mysterious, metallic sphere was spotted zigzagging through the air in patterns that defied the movements of conventional aircraft before descending and landing on Colombian soil.
Oh my God.
Video footage captured the silver-colored orb moving at remarkable speed before suddenly descending and coming to rest on the ground amid some brush. The object, approximately 50 centimeters in diameter with no visible welds or joints, quickly became known as the Sphere of Buga. Recovered on March 2nd by local residents, including men named Jose and David Velez El Potro, the sphere reportedly weighed about 4.5 pounds and felt cold to the touch, described as having the temperature of a refrigerator. Strangely, after handling the object, Jose reportedly felt sick for several days. In an even more puzzling development, when Velez El Potro poured water onto the sphere, he claimed it began to smoke and the water evaporated instantly, suggesting the interior was hot while the exterior remained cold. The Colombian government allegedly contacted Velez El Potro requesting that he hand over the mysterious object, but he refused, fearing that it would never be seen again. Instead, he entrusted it to Jaime Maussan, a controversial Mexican journalist and ufologist known for his investigations into unexplained phenomena. Maussan, who gained attention in 2017 for claiming to have discovered alien mummies in Peru, findings that still remain unconfirmed, he wasted no time traveling to Colombia to personally examine the sphere. Upon initial examination, Maussan described the artifact as solid, with no visible welds, inscribed with symbols, letters, and featuring a porous design. But the investigation was just beginning. The sphere was subjected to X-ray analysis by radiologist Dr. Jose Luis Velasquez, revealing astonishing details about its internal structure. The X-rays showed the object consisted of 3 distinct layers of metal-like material, with the outer layer being the densest, comparable to human bone. This outer shell potentially composed of titanium or steel, though further compositional analysis would be needed to confirm this. Most intriguingly, the scans revealed 18 small microspheres distributed in what appeared to be a non-random pattern around a central nucleus that researchers dubbed a chip. These points showed no signs of fracture, with each extending approximately half a centimeter into the interior of the sphere. Scientists speculated that these points could be sensors, bolts, or fragments of microspheres with their symmetrical arrangement suggesting advanced technology or deliberate engineering. Additionally, the team observed a central band composed of different material containing more small spheres, which they believed may have been placed inside before the object was sealed. However, the X-rays revealed no visible signs of assembly techniques, no welds, no joints, nothing that would typically indicate human fabrication. The sphere's exterior was equally puzzling, featuring inscriptions that researchers compared to ancient scripts including runes, Ogham, and Mesopotamian writing systems. Using AI to assist in deciphering these symbols, the team interpreted a message saying, "The origin of birth through union and energy, and the cycle of transformation meeting point of unity, expansion, and consciousness, individual consciousness." The researchers boldly claimed, "We interpret it as a message to humanity, encouraging a collective shift in consciousness to help Mother Earth, especially considering the current issues with pollution and environmental decline." Dr. Velasquez and his team concluded it is of artificial origin, in that it shows no evidence of welding and its internal structure is composed by high-density elements. More testing is needed to establish its origin. The sphere of Buga is not without precedent. Some UFO enthusiasts have likened it to a similar mystifying metallic sphere filmed in 2016 by a U.S. military spy plane in Iraq. Others have drawn comparisons to the Manchester Sphere, another metallic object of unknown origin that appeared in the UK months earlier. But skepticism abounds. Velez El Potro, who handed the sphere over to Masson, is the owner of a German company, a metal detector retailer. This connection has led some to speculate that the entire phenomenon might be a cleverly disguised marketing campaign to promote his products. Adding fuel to this theory, local media reported that employees from the company appeared in videos inspecting the sphere while wearing white lab-style suits. Was this scientific caution or simply a social media stage prop? The footage's abrupt ending has also raised eyebrows among skeptical observers. As one source noted, it seems unfathomable that someone would stop filming at the crescendo of the sighting when one would presumably be able to closely examine the curious sphere. More cynical viewers have suggested the orb could have been an errant balloon or a drone controlled by the witness. What's undeniable is that the sphere has achieved what many marketing campaigns dream of: global attention, activation of major media outlets, and furious conversation around the unexplained. The story has spread virally across platforms like TikTok and Instagram, with audiences divided between those who see legitimate evidence of extraterrestrial visitation and those who suspect an elaborate hoax. As the object reportedly undergoes further analysis with plans to transport it to the United States for examination by scientists in specialized labs, the mystery deepens. Is this an actual alien artifact providing tantalizing evidence that we are not alone in the universe? A clever marketing stunt designed to sell metal detectors or something else entirely? Whether the sphere of Buga ultimately proves to be science, deception, or humanity's first confirmed contact with extraterrestrial technology, it continues to spin – in labs, on social media, and in our collective imagination, searching for a definitive answer to that eternal question, are we alone?
And maybe this is pareidolia, but I thought I saw.
What do you guys think about that?
I thought I saw a face in that one of the, like, inside when they were looking at the little points. Looked like there was a face in there. Like I said, maybe it's pareidolia, like whatever you see a face when there's no face. But it looked like a face in there. It was really weird.
Well,
did you see that?
And then other people have been linking the patterns on that to crop circles coming up. So my thought on this is, why can't you have a hoax and have the real deal at the same time?
You can, sure.
Because that way you could cover up the real deal. Because the fact that this was in Iraq, that they had seen, that's where I had first seen something like this, was about some obscure thing in Iraq.
Well, the fact that you just said crop circles, while I was watching it, that's exactly where my mind went. This is in some way related to crop circles. How weird.
Well, that is what's seen at crop circles are these orbs. But not necessarily metallic.
Not metallic, yeah.
Not metallic, no. I saw a bunch of orbs when I first moved here. I saw one, and then another day I was talking to someone on the phone over in England who was going through a horrible breakup, and there was like a fleet of them that were like shaped in like almost like a military or like a birds flying like in a V, going back and forth and back and forth. They were glowing white. They're right over the treetops in the back of my backyard. They were like, I don't know how big they were. They weren't real big though. They were probably like, I could see them clearly, and they weren't that far away, but I can't tell how big they were. They were big enough for me to see and tell that they were spheres, and I could see them very clearly, but they weren't metallic. They were like glowing white, and they were not like spiritual orbs. They were physical things. I reported it to MUFON, and I asked the head of MUFON. He was like, yeah, we've been seeing those. A lot of people have seen those around here. And I was like, what do you think they are? He's like, we don't know, but they are being seen. At that time, there was a lot of sightings of those kind of orbs. And again, not metallic, but clearly not like an orb you see when it's like a spiritual thing, a real machine type of thing. Yeah.
And apparently there's a lot of them in South America right now that, more than just this Buga one that people are seeing all over the place. And
so the Buga one has like a bunch of writing on it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's weird too. You know what I'm saying? That's also strange. I don't know if could you tell that it had that on it from far away, or is that
no? It crashed.
It had to crash.
So what I think is going on with this, and I could be very wrong, but I think you have people copying it, just like the cube in a sphere. And so you've got people doing that, but then there's other probably genuine sightings going on too. Because I was thinking, like the next show, all of these in South America where there are actually orbs like in caves and stuff. I mean, there's like a ton of this stuff. And so it's interesting that these are coming.
You mean in cave art, you mean? Do you mean cave art?
No, like real cave.
Like physically in a cave. Yeah.
What was that movie where, and archaeological sightings. And so what was that?
Like those machine orbs? Really? Well, that's wild.
They're like white. They're like these white.
Yeah, white orbs. Yeah.
But they're like, remember that movie Cocoon? It's kind of like that. They're like all over. And so what if these are related to that somehow? I just didn't have time to put together slides on that part for tonight.
Deborah, that guy, that older man, that they showed sitting, he's famous in Mexico. He's had a weekly show in Mexico for decades that never has a problem filling a few hours with paranormal events. And it's always, UFOs. There have been instances in several different countries in South America of entire small towns of people getting what seems to be radiation sickness and weird apparitions, mechanically, not Our Lady of something, but mechanical UFO style apparitions, and being chased, and animals being killed by them, and then people get sick, and people being abducted. There's something going on, and it has happened on a regular basis.
I was also thinking it was a chupacabra. Do you remember the chupacabra sighting?
I've heard of it, yeah.
That was really a thing for a while in the 90s. And then it kind of disappeared. I don't know what happened with chupacabra, but that's another weird thing happening in South America, Mexico, down.
They're all over in Arizona. Arizona has them too. There's even been sightings where I live of the chupacabra.
It's like Sasquatch, Yeah.
Kind of, but it's more like a dog creature or something.
Oh, that. It's not like Sasquatch, but it's similar.
And it's hairless, right? Isn't it kind of hairless too?
Well, I've never seen one.
I mean, it's like a hairless.
The ones.
Go ahead.
The ones they've seen in Arizona tend to go. Oh, this is another weird story too. You just prompted me to think of something. But the ones, the chupacabra in Arizona, tend to go around graveyards or dead animals and stuff, and they eat things that are already dead, like roadkill.
Okay, right. Kind of like
this is something I just thought of. This was in the WYO News, which is for the state of Wyoming, and they cover a lot of like egg kind of stuff or whatever. Remember in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that big, what was that mountain? I've been there.
It was the
Fourth Kind, whatever that mountain is, Devil's.
Devil's
Peak. The mashed potato mountain.
Devil's Peak.
Yeah, I've been there. It's kind of an interesting energy, actually. But anyway, all these cattle out there are dying, and so like this one rancher. And these aren't like, where the mutilations or anything. He just went out and there's like 40 to 80 cattle are just dead. It just happened. This just started happening. And I think the state of Washington, that's going on in other areas. And so right now they don't know what is creating this. Or it could be some kind of toxic like grass or weed or something that they're eating. Wow. Or it could be something else. Who knows?
I mean, radiation.
When I read it, that's what I thought. That's immediately where my mind went.
I mean, what about? I mean, even if it was, it could be natural radiation because there is a lot of like uranium and stuff like that in the Four Corners. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's come to the surface or something. Maybe there was some digging and some of the uranium kind of came up and they're grazing on a uranium field. I don't know. Or it could be just something else underneath there that's got some kind of radioactive.
Well, you know, Linda Moulton Howe did a fabulous job as an investigative journalist in close to Idaho, I think eastern Washington, and she documented, and she ended up documenting nationally and then internationally all of these mutilations, but more than just the mutilations, weird animal deaths. There are areas where they've had mass deaths of cats, you know, not just cows, not just horses, although a lot of those, but other kinds of animals. And I don't know why, but you just don't read about it, you know.
No, you don't.
You know, one of the ranches we represent, sweetest people you ever meet in your life. Just wonderful. These two sisters are running this ranch that they inherited, and very humble, wonderful people. But they were going through that with the cattle mutilations. And this was a while ago. And then I'm in the club for Skinwalker Ranch, where you get all the, stuff that you don't see on TV because it's interesting. And they show some pictures of some of these mutilations that go on out there. It is shocking.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's disgusting.
Well, they were having them in the early 70s. I mean, it happened before that.
Yeah, it's been happening for a long time.
She started documenting them in the early 70s.
Yeah, she had a Strange Harvest as her documentary.
Two, and they had experts weighing in on it, and veterinarians saying, you know, there's this experimental thing that's like a laser cutter. And this is the early 70s, but in order for me to use that, I would have to get it from an experimental lab. I'd have to ship it here. It's the size of a moving truck, and I wouldn't have a generator in the middle of a field, and it would make noise, and it would take forever to do this, and this mutilation would happen within an hour, you know.
Yeah,
And the thing is, these are very remote areas, like like that ranch. They're outside of Flagstaff, and then there were some other ranches around Flagstaff going through that. Skinwalker is very remote, and like you said, this precision laser kind of thing. They had a horse; it was just shocking, and there's no blood or anything. It was just
they had internal, or they had like a heart removed from an animal without an external incision and without any cutting into the pericardium.
You know what's interesting? The whole thing with Skinwalker Ranch, the area where Skinwalker Ranch is, there's a radium mine nearby. Do you know what radium is?
Yeah.
And my husband, when he was a kid, his grandmother was told that it would cure like all these different things. It was one of those sort of snake oil things, you know. She took him there, and like he ended up getting all kinds of bloody noses, and it wasn't good. He got mild radiation poisoning. So it makes me think that, you know, there is a lot of that stuff in the Southwest. The Hopi land, like there's uranium mining there and stuff like that, you know, up in the mountain, in the Black Mountain, is it called the Black Mountains, or
Sangre Crystal?
And on Navajo land they are, and then actually in the Grand Canyon, the Havasupai. And Trump, of course, is trying to open that up again after it was shut down. So but I wanted to mention Jen's comment here before we flick the next. Or wait, no, not Jen. Her name is Robin. She says Jen Bushman-Tureau has frequent contact with Bigfoot. I think I saw something about that once on YouTube. She knew like a whole Bigfoot family or something.
Oh, that's funny. I don't know who she is.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
How can only man has no preparation? So most parents have protection like here. Yeah, I think because we're hybrids, Donald.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, my excuse is I'm Irish, you know. I mean, look, I go for a walk, I'm all red, you know. It's impossible.
The older I get, I don't get as dark. I was up on the roof doing stuff all last weekend out in the sun, and man, when I was young, I would get so dark. I mean, I used to get beat up as a kid for being an Indian because I would get that dark. And now
Wow.
I'm just stay as white as can be, you know?
Yeah, I think so, as you get older, I think that seems to get lighter. I don't know what that's all about. Weird.
Yeah.
Maybe the melanin in your skin doesn't react as much or something like that.
No,
I guess not, or else
hides
it's
in the wrinkles.
or it's radiation protection, you know?
Maybe it
Walking
bounces
around.
right off you.
But it's like, I'm all fine to get a tan after doing all that. Nope. Just
I think a lot of body functions just give up.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. Right.
Have enough.
So what do you guys think, just intuitively or whatever about that orb? That's fascinating to me.
The cubes?
It is. It's interesting.
Either one, but especially the last one, the Buga Sphere.
Yeah, I don't know much about that. It seems like to me, I could see, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to look at it, but it seems like one of those things where it seems almost too good to be true. That it seems like, do you know what I mean? It's like, really, it's got all these cool things on it. It does. I would really, I would want to dig into it more. You know, it's not that I don't. I mean, I'm naturally skeptical unless I've seen or read about it a lot. I don't tend to, even then, I don't believe everything. But and I'm had the weirdest experiences of anybody, and I try to tell people that, and they believe me, which I probably shouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't believe me. You know what I mean?
The fact that it ended up in the hands of people and ended up being examined in a laboratory.
Yeah, it all seems a little. Yeah,
that's weird. Because
the whole thing seems a little too convenient or something.
Shady.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because UFO I'm just going to throw the term out UFO, but UFO, any kind of contact like that of whatever sort, is often elusive, usually elusive.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. They don't want us to get that close to them. So I don't know. Yeah, how big is the orb?
I think it was only like, what did they say, 40 centimeters? It wasn't very big.
Oh, small. That's
and when they were holding it, it looked like a basketball or
what's 40 centimeters
not even as big as
real measurement.
And in inches, I'll find out.
The size of my head.
Huge.
But I do think, though, because I've seen some other images, I do think that there are some legitimate of these spheres that are flying around through South America. I think they were just trying to create something, and then you put these designs that look like what you see in the crop circles, which adds to the mystery and makes it, more intriguing or whatever.
Well, it looks like it was created by somebody who's really into Celtic and Norse mythology. There's a weird combination, of Norse symbolism and runes and Ogham writing, and I don't know.
And the message about consciousness, and although it's true, we need to do something about the planet and climate change and all of that. But my first thought when I saw it too was, remember, was it last summer or the summer before where they were seeing those like gold pillars like all over Utah, and they were just like these strange things that were just like showing up and people didn't know what they were.
Oh,
and
that
then
was
they
the
would
angel
disappear.
Moroni. It's in Utah. It's like, if you tell me it's in Fatima, Lourdes, or Utah, I'm suspicious.
But I think it was in some other places. I'll have to. Okay, so next week I'll put together those egg orb things so you can see what I'm talking about. And that thing, just to get I think it was an art project, that one too. Because it is, like this guy said on Weird Darkness or whatever, it's a great marketing thing. But I do think that there are some real ones though too.
Oh, there are tons of real ones. I mean, but usually the real ones don't get this much. They're not this good, and they don't get this kind of attention.
Yeah.
Well, they're not as shiny and clean. Like if it fell down and it's got these perfect things on there. And then I was watching, I think in China, they're developing some of these drones that look the same, like these round spherical drone things.
Great.
So I think some of them are drones and just man-made. Some of it is art. And
we're rapidly approaching a time where we're not going to know, either in three-dimensional world or in depictions on videos or written word. Are we looking at something real, or are we being manipulated? We're pretty much there, you know.
Yeah, we pretty much are there.
Yeah, terrifying to me. Yeah.
This is why community and getting together and talking is so important, because I think it's going to get worse and worse and worse.
It is going to get worse.
And
well, with 30% of the population, if this is true, 30% of the population has no internal dialogue, monologue, you know, no internal stuff going on. I wouldn't be surprised, because people are turning to AI to do all their thinking for them. You know, you're going to write an essay, let AI do it. There's a process you go through when you do it on your own, finding the right word, organizing.
Helen, do you think that research that you saw, was it specific to this period of time? Because
yeah, it's recent.
No, I mean, was it done because somebody suspected people were not thinking as much because of AI, or was there something that prompted
that? I don't know. I need to go back and I'll read it more carefully. I'll talk to you about it.
Do we live in a
simulation? I don't know what that even means. I
know what that means. Yeah. I think I worry. I wonder about that. What
you mean like we're not real?
No, not that we're not real, but that our consciousness is sort of projected into this simulated reality, and we don't, and it feels real, and we think it's real, but it's actually something that somebody else has sort of created for us. Yes. You know, could be a god, it could be an alien, it could be who knows, or who knows what it is. Really, that's kind of the idea.
The thing is, when you have like a glitch experience, or like the weird experience with me on the phone, thinking I'm talking to people, and it turns out that I'm not, but yet the phone records exist. To me, those glitches in the matrix makes me think, yes, we are in some kind of simulation.
Right.
Okay, but what are we?
That makes sense.
You know.
Well, okay. The thing is, that's Truman Show. Well, what this is where it gets weird, because it sounds like a simulation. Sounds like it's a computer generated thing. We are real for us, right? And it's not that it's not real. It's that it's a construct. So you could say we are in a construct of the creator, that we are in a bubble of the creator's mind, and we're projected into this simulation in the creator's mind. And, you know, it's kind of like a program that the creator is running, and we're part of this. I mean, I don't know. The reason this idea came up is there's some kind of coding in the universe that mimics, or like when you, I guess, program computers, there's a specific sequence of numbers that people put in to correct the code. Like it's a self-correcting number. I don't understand. I'm not a coder. But according to, they found this number repeating in the universe, basically, in other situations. And they think it's just really weird. Like, it's almost like, is there something put into these? I really don't understand it, because I haven't really gone deep into it. But I thought it's an interesting idea, but it's kind of the same idea as Maya.
Well, and Gary, my friend, that you guys met here.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets into all that stuff, and I'm just like, man, I need to drink a 6-pack because I can't even understand what he's talking about.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, to me, it's fun. It's a fun intellectual game.
Well, it's kind of the same thing as what the like the Buddhists say. This is all Maya. It's all illusion. Yeah. It's just sort of a modern variation of that, in my opinion.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's fun to speculate, and it's a mental challenge, and I can see people getting caught up in it. And I think
but it doesn't matter that much.
Too caught up in it, because that's really not the point anyway.
It doesn't matter, really.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter whether it's simulation or what.
That's right.
Our experience is here, where our consciousness is. This is a growth process, whether it's what we think it is or not, is kind of irrelevant.
We don't share. We'll have to get a case.
Actually, that's another thing. I don't pigment anymore, and I can't really drink alcohol anymore.
I can't either.
I don't drink either.
I can't drink.
But you're right. You're right, Denise. It's irrelevant in a way. It's fun and it's interesting, and it's a little bit like philosophy. You can titillate your brain, but really, ultimately, what does it boil down to? How you act on a daily basis. That's
but see,
I get freaked out.
Me,
Taurus and Virgo. Taurus and a Virgo.
What?
Grounded.
Yes.
Yeah.
For me, it's an ethical question.
Bring it into the internal,
right,
and look for the guidance there.
It's interesting. The perspective is interesting because you're a Taurus, so you're very grounded.
But I look at it way more in an ethical kind of thing in terms of, all right, because AGI will probably happen by 2027.
Now, what is that?
That's artificial general intelligence, where it can think for itself.
It thinks for itself just like a human. So
God help us. God help us all. Is all.
Well, this is where the ethical question comes in for me. Like, okay, if we're living in a simulation, what if we're little AI bits running around? I mean, we don't know, but if your whole life experience is how do you treat others? If AI actually is a form of consciousness, you have an ethical responsibility to treat it right. And once again, it goes into that same issue. You've got people that want to control everyone else and program it to do evil. Right. Yes. But it can also be done to do tremendous good. I mean, that's the next.
I think even if you take, the ethical question about that, what is ever the ethics in doing anything bad to anything, including like this can? Like, why should I damage the can? You know what I mean? Why should I do anything negative to anything? It's whether it's got even consciousness or not, is it okay to smash a window just because you feel like doing it? Is it okay to like mistreat anything?
Do no harm.
Yeah, I mean, why would you want to program things to do bad things? It's the ethics are with us, I think. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Karma is in the simulation. Yeah. I mean,
somebody I'd like to talk to.
Because
I know.
But even AI itself, okay, if somebody programs it wrong, do you blame the AI? I think you blame the programmer.
No, you blame the programmer for sure.
But then you take that to the next level. If there's a God that created us and screwed up, do we blame God or do we take responsibility and
let's extract.
Yes, we blame God.
That's what I do.
Let's extrapolate.
And wonderful. I'm a Virgo. I'm perfect.
So I'm going to take that argument one step farther. I'm going to make everybody mad, and I don't believe this, but I'm just going to say the logical extension of that is guns don't kill people. People kill people.
It's true.
But it's true, though. It's actually true.
They're an inanimate object. I mean, if you're looking at it without moralizing, they're an inanimate object, and it requires.
It's the intention of the person that uses it.
Right.
And that's the same with AI. I mean, AI may have consciousness, and if that's the case, then
I think it will.
We're all in trouble.
I mean, but you're right. It's only going to be as good as what we program it to be, though, and that's the problem that's scary about it.
Exactly, because this is where that whole thing is right now, is like just like the nuclear thing. At least people came to an agreement, like, well, we won't keep building up all of our with AI, it's just like, well, if we try to regulate ours, but China doesn't regulate theirs, we'll be behind. Right. So this is what everybody is doing right now.
I know. And it's going to get out of hand very fast, I think.
Well, and the other issue, now I agree with her.
It is very helpful. Yeah, totally.
And I think that you guys could tell I use it all the time, even with these little videos.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I love AI.
I
see that there's a problem.
You were simulation.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with AI at all. I think AI is good, but there are problems with the possibilities of AI. Like you said, I mean, look at what just recently happened with Grok, right? That's the thing that Elon Musk's is AI. And then he programmed it to be all racist and stuff like that, and all these crazy racist conspiracy theories. And when someone asks Grok, where did you get this information? Well, Elon Musk programmed me to be this way, was basically the answer. And it's like, that's the problem with AI, is not that AI is bad. It's like a computer. You know, there's nothing wrong with computers.
Well, the other problem,
use it.
one of the problems with it is its impact on the environment.
That's true.
And
That is true.
Yeah.
there is
That's true.
oh gosh, I can't remember the name of this YouTube channel, but Kyle Kalinske of Secular Talk
Yeah.
mentioned it too.
Kyle and Friends or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, I
That's
really
right.
like. I've watched him for years, and they're in Memphis about
Yes.
how
Yes.
he's got
Yes,
this
I've heard
huge,
that.
basically unregulated, like power plant to
Mhm.
power these and so people are
AI.
getting sick and
Yeah. True.
because it's polluting the air, and this is a
Yeah.
big reason why they want to just get rid of all these environmental regulations, like, oh yeah, we can have, and their whole philosophy behind that is, well, we've got to get rid of these regulations so we can power AI. And then like out here, so you get these
Wow.
big super computer plants. We are in one of the worst, we've been in a 20-year mega drought out here.
Wow. Right. Wow.
Why put that kind of stuff in?
Yeah, that's
And
really
so
dumb.
what are they talking about? Well, we'll just create all these little nuclear plants. Well, that's fine.
Well,
and
they're
good.
nihilistic. They don't have a sense of responsibility to the future. They believe in nothing, and I've heard them say, "I'm going to be dead. Why would I care?"
Right.
Yeah, that's
And then
insane.
even the other thing that came up, I wasn't aware of it until they were all making fun of Marjorie Taylor Greene, that there was in the budget bill some clause that no state is allowed to regulate their AI for 10 years.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at the budget bill just in terms of water and that kind of stuff, and I wrote some articles, but I didn't get into the other stuff. And so I was not aware of that. So if you're taking away the states to be able to regulate this, and then it's doing serious environmental damage, like in Tennessee, in Arizona, I mean, all over to me, that is more of well, I don't know what's worse, bad programmers or just ripping apart the environment for this
I think
stuff.
ripping apart the environment and bad programming is not good either. We trust AI enough for law enforcement. Oh,
No,
you know
we
what?
don't.
That's already happened. That's already happening in England, Donald. Did you know
Oh
about
my
this?
God, what's going on in England is terrifying.
They're using it to basically try to predict crimes.
Yeah.
And
You know
we're
that-
using it here in the United States too. Fannie Mae is using it to predict people's, trying to, cause mortgage crimes or whatever.
Arthur C. Clarke, pre-crime.
Yeah.
What's the name of that movie they made based on his story?
It's not Arthur C. Clarke. It's Philip K. Dick. You're talking
Philip
about
K. Dick,
Minority
right.
Report.
All
Yeah.
those initials. Do androids dream of electric sheep? Something like
No,
that.
it's called Minority Report, the movie, but
That's the movie.
yeah, but that's a book that became Blade Runner. That's Philip K. Dick.
Blade Runner. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's another one. There's a third one made.
There's a lot. He wrote shit tons of stuff. Yeah,
Do you know that Philip Dick had? They don't know. Did he have some kind of epileptic thing going on, or was he truly? He would have moments of freezing in place and staring into space, and he claimed that he saw golden light that gave him information. And that's where a lot of his inspiration for his books came from. And he one day saved his daughter's life. He was in the living room. She was playing on the floor. She was little, like 18 months old or something.
Right.
And he had one of those moments and he realized ER. He jumped up off the couch. His wife was like, God, what's wrong? He jumped up, grabbed the child, raced to the emergency room. By the time they got to the emergency room, she wasn't breathing. She had some weird medical incident. I don't know what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, he was psychic. Yeah, he's psychic.
Yeah.
In fact, Philip K. Dick, I channeled Philip K. Dick for the title of my book because I couldn't come up with the title. And I asked him. He came up with the title. That's what I think. I don't know. But seriously, I could not come up with a title. And I was like, I can't. I had a million different titles. None of them were good. And then I asked him and he gave me that one. I'm like, thanks, Philip K. Dick.
Great title.
Oh, wow.
Great title.
Yeah.
I've been trying to come up with titles for my videos that get people intrigued. They call it clickbait, and I don't really like that. But people don't want to hear about philosophical discussions, and so they just ignore my titles. But Nate
Titles
told
are
me, you got to give them a title like, is the end of the world coming? And then people will, you know, it works.
The world will end on December 30th, 2024, and then they'll, or 25, whatever year we're in right now.
Yeah, really feels like so long.
That's terrible, though. I feel like I've prostituted myself to titles.
You know, though, there are like marketing. Oh man, I learned this back when I was doing some programming. There are certain marketing twists that you can use, and one of them is like the power of 7. And so I wrote this thing for one of the cities out here because they were trying to talk the people into getting those low flow toilets to save water, and the city was going to pay for all of that, and a lot of people are resistant. And I still don't even remember because it was like 20 years ago that I wrote this thing, and I used the power of 7 and all this marketing stuff. And they still, if they lose that paper, they'll call, and everyone just calls it the 7 principles. And that's all anyone remembers is just that. And none of us remember what it was about, except for it was like this thing about 7. I know you use 777. I've had it in ever since I was like in first grade, I would use 777 all the time. There's some kind of, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
But there's a power in 7. I don't know.
Numerologically, it represents like, it's a very spiritual number, completion.
It is.
Yeah. It's connected to like, as a personality number, which I'm born on a 7, so I'm a 7. But 7s are supposed to be really like, kind of like me, basically. There's some people who are really spiritual, kind of mystical by nature, psychic, kind of that kind of thing. So
what's the number 9? I love the number 9.
Number 9 is a humanitarian. It's broad-minded.
Okay.
Yeah. It's also a number of completion. Besides, yeah. 9s are good. 9 is good. I like 9. I'm born. My birthday's for the 9th.
If you take all the products, that, you know, like 1 times 9, 2 times 9, 3 times 9, and you get the answer, and you add the digits, you get the number 9. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, for what? For your birthday? I was reading comments. What were you saying? You get number 9? What is
so
the power
3D braining had said life path numbers. And then Don says, I'd have to look it up, Donald, what this was in terms of marketing, but I know it was a real, and I used to put 777, like when you're kids and you have like a code, I was like 777, and I use it like forever. I've got an email account that I have had for like 30 years. It's Deborah 777. I know. That's when I saw that. And it was just like, and then when I learned about gambling and it's all 777, I was like, oh wow, you know, so this
same. I saw that too.
I never knew what it meant at all. I still don't know what it means.
Oh, well, I was going to ask you, what does it mean in relationship to gambling?
Well, there's a lot of machines that have 777.
Maybe that's what it is with this. But yeah, it had to be the 7 points that that we built on.
Okay, so times. Like 666, exactly. 666 is the devil. 777 is like God. Yeah, power 7 is you have to hear something 7 times to believe it. I've heard you only have to hear it 3 times to believe it, but maybe 7 times to maybe 3 times to notice it and 7 times to believe it. But after you hear it 3 times, it's to build a known.
I heard if you watch Fox News on a regular basis for more than 3 minutes at a time, you'll get brainwashed. I don't know.
Where'd you hear that?
I won't be in the same room with it on.
I know.
You know, the things about that, or like talk radio or whatever. I mean, sometimes I'll listen to different things just to try to understand different perspectives. Yeah. But I have noticed now that I'm just turning, this pop-up came up on my thing. Take the garbage out. I already did. Okay, so I have to remind myself stuff all the time. But I've noticed, I don't know, I had a long drive somewhere, and it was like all that I could get on the radio. It was before Sirius was like talk radio. And I found that I had driven like 4 hours, and I couldn't tell you a thing of what they said on that. So it was like a mesmerizing sort of thing. And then I was watching something where this doctor was talking about his mother was in a nursing home and was experiencing like dementia and problems like that. And he said it got worse because she would sit there and fall asleep listening to Fox News. So it's going right into the subconscious.
Wow.
It's almost like a hypnotism thing.
Right,
and
right.
An attorney I know who recently passed away, he had gotten just so bad, and he would fall asleep and that was just going into his head. And then he got like, none of us even recognized him anymore.
Wow.
Well, then
that's like Jen Senko. Jen Senko did that book, The Brainwashing of My Dad. And
yes.
she said that he started listening to talk radio when he retired and got a part-time job and had a bit of a commute. And I think there's something to that process of driving.
I listen to talk radio. I used to live out in Canyon Country and have to commute to Canyon Country, and it's in California.
Oh.
And I would have to commute to Marina Del Rey. And that is about...
I went to school there.
If there's no traffic, it was at least it was like an hour commute with no traffic. But
Where's Canyon Country?
Canyon Country is, you know where Valencia is?
Yeah.
That's where CalArts is. It's about 15 or 20 minutes east of there. So it's about an hour away from Marina Del Rey. So I would, it was the 90s, late 80s. There was nothing. I mean, there's just radio, and I
listened
had
to it a lot back then. Yeah.
Yeah. I listened to it constantly, and I did not get brainwashed. So I don't know. Maybe it's
I didn't either, but now there's something different where you do. I don't know. It was like some kind of thing that
it was different back then, though.
Getting older. Yeah. Yeah.
I think part of it, was back then it was people talking about topics. Like they would talk about something, people call in and talk about it, and it was fine. By the time you get into the sort of mid 90s, it started becoming very political, and it had an agenda, and it was trying to push a certain agenda. It was always very right-wingy. And what's that fat guy who died, who is the
Rush Limbaugh.
Rush Limbaugh. Yeah. He was very much the godfather of modern talk radio, I think, and this whole kind of just badgering people, getting all mad and upset about everything.
Yeah, but when he
was like fingernails on a chalk.
But when he first started, I kind of liked him, but it turned into this when he just started.
Yeah, I don't know.
Then it blossomed into this other kind of thing.
I think, he probably realized that he got a lot more attention by being angry and getting people worked up. Yeah.
But when he first started, it was, although
normal.
I had kind of, but then again, I'm thinking back because I had started this recycling program for Maricopa County, and all these people were listening to it. And then I had nightmares that night that it was the Antichrist. So I stopped.
Oh, wow. So maybe not. Yeah, maybe not.
So I think it got kind of strange. But when he just first started, all of us are kind of humble when we first start something. So I think, that's what I heard was his first few shows. And it was like, well, I wasn't
more like a
addicted
regular
to
talk
it.
show.
Yeah, it was just more like
a regular talk show. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and then it got weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what happens with all this. But anyway, this attorney, he was, I mentioned to his daughter, you might want to just get him away from having that TV on every night, falling asleep to that. And when he was in the care
or turn it to MSNBC.
But before that, he was a voracious. Well, that drives me nuts too, in a way.
I know, but to see if he changes personality.
Yeah. Well, it does. It makes a difference. But they turned that off, and he was a voracious reader and science fiction and all of that. Mm-hmm. And his personality changed back.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and even the people that the nurses and stuff at this facility, they said his health is improving and everything, just not listening to that negative stuff.
Yeah, it's negative. It's so negative. Yeah, I think that's true. It's sort of programming negative energy into you constantly.
Cortisol levels get all screwed up.
Yeah, and it gets into your unconscious, and you get mad. You don't know why.
There's a guy, I want to do him a favor. I've been trying to get him on my channel forever. And I don't do like other social media, so I don't really have an entree. But he's got program on YouTube called the ASMR Historian. And he has this lovely soothing voice. Now you can watch the video. I just listen to the sound, but he does this. He gently opens a treasure chest and takes out little things. And then he puts out cards and he folds. I mean, and you can kind of be mesmerized by it, but that's not why I listen to it. He talks about research subjects that he's done about history. Name it, just name it. And he's researched it and he talks about it. He's a kind of a dry wit and a really soothing delivery.
What's his name?
The ASMR Historian.
Oh, that's just the name. Okay, that's what you guys
Yeah.
Okay.
And you never see his face. You don't ever
Oh,
see
wow.
him.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's
write
really
that down.
interesting. And it's very entertaining. And he has become so popular. He has so much financial support that he doesn't have any ads on there. So you're not interrupted by those horrifying, obnoxious ads. you know?
Sometimes people can put them just in the beginning, I think, too, especially when you do those kind of calming things. It's better. Yeah.
Crystal Blue has such a good point here that James Dobson did a lot of damage on Christian radio. I agree.
Focus on the family.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
I had a
name.
friend who was really into him.
Really?
Yeah.
You can get an app for your phone that is a universal remote. A friend of mine changes TV and Dr. Wallace. This is so good. That's a great idea. I'm going to write that down too.
Does anybody else find it really disturbing that every public place you go, waiting off, like I was recently down, you know, at the hospital in the waiting area, and they've got the television droning. I don't care what it is. I don't want it on. People cannot live with their own thoughts. Now we know why. 30% only if people have thoughts. I think
I'm going to put another app up too, just for something, and we can talk about it next. Let me see if this will show. This is called Enigma Labs.io, and now they opened it up to Android. It started off just Apple products, now Android. They also have a web, and I'll show the.
What is this for?
What is it? Yeah,
it's sightings that you can find.
Oh, okay, great. I'm going to write that down.
I'm just going to add something really fast. Whoops, is that the right thing?
Wow. Okay, cool.
I just want to show you guys something.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
their search engine isn't that. Whoops, where did I go? Whoa, I just lost y'all.
Oh, you did? We're still here.
We can
Okay,
see you, but you're
second.
sitting in the dark.
Yeah, you are.
I don't know what happened to my thing here.
Well, we can hear you and we can see you. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Did you
I can
find
see
it?
me again. Yeah. Let me put this. I want to show you guys how to
Okay.
search for specific things.
Okay.
Oh, I see. The whole thing didn't load. No wonder it stopped. All right, so
Okay.
that means it'll be the next show that I'll show you guys.
All right. Well, that sounds good. So you can search for different kinds of sightings on this site?
Well, yes, but it's not that good of a search engine quite yet. But if you want to find like certain things like cubes or spheres or whatever, I was going to show you guys. I'll make a little tutorial and I'll show you guys next. You know, if there's a certain topic that you want to find. But what's interesting about these sightings, and it's really a great app to see what's going on like in your state.
Yeah, wouldn't it? That sounds
So
good.
you can see everything going on in your state, and then they categorize it, and they're behind by thousands and thousands of sightings, but they actually verify and they give it like, okay, well, this is like 38% legit, or you know, they have a scale that they rate what it is. And so just flicking through it, one of the things I noticed was that the sightings really picked up around the time of the drones. And some have gone down. Now Arizona is going back up again, but I think that's when everybody was out looking to see the drones. So of course the sightings are going to go up.
You know what? MUFON has a website where people can report, and you can read all of it's anonymous. You can read all the reports in your state too, and see what, you know, that's what happens if somebody has to input that, which is why they're behind on that other site, probably because you have to sit there. A researcher has to go in and like.
Well, actually, no. People could. You just take your phone turn your camera on and just catch the UFO up there.
I mean like when you get the database, like at MoonCon.
Yeah.
And so then people go out and they talk to they send people out like field researchers, fields, whatever people.
Yeah.
I've done that job, and then you interview people, see if they seem credible, try to get information, and then it's sort of analyzed by a team of people. Then it gets sort of put up so it takes time for that to go through that process. So by the time, some of the sort of raw sightings are put up there, but then there's also sightings that are there, that are really picked through and determined whether they seem real or not, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of sightings, there are 2 unrelated podcasts. If people are interested, I like to push them because I think they're very good. And they're not related, different. One's in England, one's in the United States. One's called the Sasquatch Chronicles. The other's called the UFO Chronicles.
Okay.
And they both have similar format. People call in and they simply tell their story. And oh my God, it's mind-boggling. It defies description because
that's what we have, so people could call in next time. We've got this number. I've got a phone line. Yeah, so I set up a second computer so that could take the phone. Remember how it was dropping before?
Yes.
So that's what this is. So that runs through another line and it runs through another computer. So, next show, people can call in and you stay anonymous that way.
You're a wonder, Deborah. You're a wonder.
I'm glad it got fixed. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll see once we try it if it actually works, but it seemed to work. Bove was helping me last night on it. So
that's good.
She had a doctor's appointment today. That's why she's not here. So
I was just going to ask.
Donald asked said Borg cubes, LL, and I thought about too. And she goes, "That's what's in my mind too. They look like the Borg." So,
what's that? Doctor Who? Doctor Who? Is that what you're talking about? Is that the
Borg?
I don't know the Borg.
Star Trek, the Borg was that big cube, and it was
Star Trek.
Yes, and it would in the movies, and it would assimilate people. With Captain Jean-Luc, he was.
I never really watched Star Trek actually.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh, I loved it.
I think we're the only 2 people in the world.
I like Star Wars, but I didn't really like Star Trek.
So anyway, you would get assimilated, like probably what people are afraid of with AI in a way, in this cube in the Borg, and you get assimilated, and you have like the hive mind.
Oh wow,
and that worries me.
It's really interesting too. But I'm glad he brought that up because I kind of thought about that too with these cubes. It's like,
interesting. So there's like a cube you put your head in or something like that?
No, it's a great big huge spaceship. It's this big thing, and there's like all these, and you get assimilated, by the Borg, and you turn into the Borg, and everybody's like robotic and. It's been a few years since I watched it, so they can probably start. That's what it is, the next generation.
Oh, it's on the next generation. It's crazy. It's so the Borg Star Trek movie. Oh, it's in the Star Trek movie too. Okay.
Yeah, it's really good. All right, y'all, you ready to wrap it up for the night?
Now we can go on all night. Yeah.
That's what I love about you guys. You're so fun to talk with, and the hour just goes bam, so quick.
It's fun, yeah.
It is fun, yeah.
I want to thank everybody who has joined in the chat too. I think a lot came from Denise, so thank you, Denise, for that, and thank you guys for coming in. And Saturday, I think I'm not going to do the show just because I need a break.
Yeah, I understand how you feel.
And you girl. Okay, so Crystal's telling you girls.
I'm gonna watch it.
It's good. Yeah. It's very interesting.
I will watch it. Yeah, I like the movies.
We should.
I think when Star Trek was on, is like when I was a kid. It was like I was a little kid. My dad used to like it. The music creeped me out really bad, and I couldn't watch it. I just thought it was really creepy music. And then when I got older, I kind of had a bad association with it. I think that's all it was.
The story itself was good. It's very humanistic.
Yes, it is.
So far ahead of his time.
Yes, he was.
The first year or so was the prime time that I paid any attention to it, and take a wild guess what my favorite episodes were. The ones where they went back in time.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes
Much
sense.
more interested in them wandering around in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
But anyway, this was really fun. It was good
fun.
to see you both, and I
You
love
too.
our Wednesday night shows. They're so much
I know
fun.
they're fun. They are.
Deborah, I just wanted to say something about you. Thank you for all the work you do. I am
Yeah, you
blown
do
away.
so much. Yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
That's why I'm taking a break from Saturday, because those
Yeah.
videos, they usually take me a good 12, 18 hours to put
That's
together.
crazy. That's a lot of time, dude.
It took me
Yeah.
12 or 18 years. I'm so impressed, you know.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yes.
Thank you.
They are
But you
great,
know,
yeah.
it's preserved, so a year from now somebody could watch that and get the gist of what. And plus, it's just like an artistic thing for me. It's just fun, you know, to do
Well, that's
that.
good.
But
As long
thank
as
you
you
for
like it.
acknowledging that.
We
Yeah,
need
it's
to
fun.
work on that. Let me reintroduce you to the term fun. I mean,
Yeah, really. I know that
It is
seems not
fun
very
for
fun
me.
to me. Well, it's good
It's
to
a
for you.
lot of fun.
You should only do what's fun.
just hearing about it, I'm like, oh God.
It seems really kind of exhausting that you do that. Yeah, it seems hard.
No,
Yeah.
it's not, because especially when you see things in your head, I can't draw. I'm not an artist like Denise. You know, I do cartoons, but as far as art, no, I can't really. And so this gives me the ability to try to transfer what I see in my head. into
Right,
something
right. That's
visual.
cool. That's cool.
Well, I watch
So it's fun.
cartoons. Does that count? I mean, all this talent, you know, it's just too much.
You know, I'm going to make it available on the Cosmic Fold website. I opened the world's first self-published only bookstore. I'm just like, I do these things. I see things like 20 years ahead of before they happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I had done a cartoon book called The Fool's Journey. And what it was about was the major arcana in the tarot, but applying it to what I saw happening in the future.
Oh God.
And it's actually kind of fun, but some of it is very, very funny. And, you know, for a self-published book, that thing sold out in like 8 months. And there used to be this wonderful independent bookstore in California called the Bodhi Tree. And they would just get boxes and boxes of this book.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
they
Bodhi
loved
tree,
it.
man. I used to go there all the time. I love the Bodhi tree. Yeah.
And so that's basically where that book sold out. And
Wow.
so it was before the internet. So I'm like, okay, you know, because I knew self-publishing was where a lot of people, because writing and free thinking is kind of stifled, you know.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And
It is, yeah. Especially in the
started-
publishing. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
it is.
and so I started this newspaper, and some of the self-published books we had were just incredibly good. Some of it was really, really awful. Some of the most turgid, horrible stuff ever.
Yeah, right.
I had this newspaper, and so it went out throughout the world. I had a newspaper, and I would, you know, have things about these authors and their books and whatever. And there was this lady, I'll never forget her, Joanna Armstrong, and she was like. What was the movie with the box of chocolates?
Oh,
the guy that,
Forrest
yes,
Gump.
she was like a Forrest Gump. So she gets this self-published, and it was really terribly written, but the pictures were great. You've got a picture of her with every single president, all these famous people.
Wow,
like Zelig, right?
Yeah, like Zelig.
And so I would just keep buying her book because nobody would buy it, you know, because it really was not written too well. But and I would dutifully put it in this newspaper. And so then she stopped cashing the checks, you know, her royalty checks for this book. And then I get this call, and it was these people, they were in Tel Aviv. And they were going, you know, asking it, and they said, this Joanna Armstrong, we've been trying to find her for like 30, 40 years. And it turned out that Joanna and her brother were separated from the Holocaust, and Joanna ended up in the United States, and the brother was in Israel. And they were trying to find Joanna. Well, because I was putting out there this really kind of awful book, they found her. And so they bought all the remaining books and planted a tree for her at the, you know, memorial. Yeah, and so there's something, and so people just call in, you know, none of us here judge your story or anything, because I think every story is worth telling. You know, and this isn't about profit or it's just about sharing. And that's what we need to do. You never know, you know, how you might affect somebody else or
let me tell you an interesting story. So you do cartoons and you are an artist. I have adjacent art connections. My husband does drawings, little cartoons, and he actually was personally I'm not making this up, personally responsible for getting the band, the Zombies, you're familiar with them from the 60s, into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's right. You talking about that. Right.
He loves them. He loves them, and they were being ignored, you know? So he started a campaign online, and every day he drew a little cartoon of himself holding a clever sign saying something about the Zombies. And after a while, it worked, and they got it. And
that's so funny.
He met them backstage, and you know, and I don't even know who they are, but he was just all jazzed about it, or
I bet
about it. Yeah,
that's cool.
That's
hilarious. Number one fan. He's their number one fan.
That's right. That's what they said. Yeah. Am I missing something there?
No, this is just being weird.
But it's funny. It's like that's cool. Okay, you all. So we'll be back next Wednesday with eggs and spheres, whatever else.
Okay, it sounds good.
So thank you all again, and we will talk soon.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Thanks so much for joining us. We love hearing your stories, so tell your friends so they can join the party. For show notes and our forum of high strangeness, visit cosmicfold.com. Remember, Cosmic Fold airs live on Wednesday and Saturday nights, so be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell to know when we're on air. Thanks again and have a great evening.